guys, welcome to episode 10, season 3, Roll with the Fox. So today we're going to start with a question from Byron Lowe, a regular viewer, and then we're going to move on. Again, we have a few other things that people ask. Guys, try to be more specific. This is supposed to be a troubleshooting session, so I want to know what your problem is more specifically. If you general, I will answer in general terms, because we don't have enough time to, especially if it's a broad topic. Something that might be, taught in a 3-hour seminar, leg lock defenses, you couldn't even cover everything in a 3-hour seminar. So we can't cover that in a 30-minute session or 20-minute session, whatever it is. So try to ask more specific questions. So Byron's question is this: what do you do? And this is more kind of MMA perspective. You're gonna put the weight on. See, guys, I can talk. Yeah. How much do you weigh? So, guys, the question is, how much? What can you do, sort of from a jiu-jitsu perspective? Because now we're in a grappling range. The problem is, what happens if this is in an MMA scenario? So, I'm more grappling. Enrique, it can be grappling or striking. So, your number one response is going to be start striking up. Okay? Just kidding. It will surprise people. I will tell you a story if I remember in about 2 minutes. But guys, so first thing is, if you got a guy that's striking, you gotta protect the face. Whether you're a model or not, it doesn't matter. Guys, so as he's putting his weight on, he's using your body as support, so try to remove it. So there's a couple ways you could kind of slide off to the side, but you're gonna take a few, possibly elbows. So I'm gonna use the inside leg. This is my number one. You have very little time. So frame out, push. And now immediately start to move. Okay? You may not get this, although I will. You may not get this, guys, but the most important thing you need to do is to move. You do not have time to do anything. By the way, that bump works very well, even from a grappling perspective. Usually that's the first way. Now, it works even better from an MMA perspective, because instead of his hands basing out on you or basing out on the floor, basing out on your opponent that's below you is better than basing out on the floor. But in an MMA perspective, the guy's hands are up to sort of start striking down. So you have, number one priority, guys, move. You're in extreme danger. So as soon, just go. I prefer to invert inside. And I'm sure you've seen this before. You wind up in a knee bar or heel hook entries, and they're very, very tight. So again, in a grappling perspective, this works, but sometimes, let's do it from a grappling perspective. So yeah, he's much lower, okay? So this is going to be much harder to dislodge using my inside leg, okay? But now I'm not in danger. So again, if it's an MMA perspective, this will be very easy, okay? Now, in a grappling perspective, it's not going to be that easy because he's basing out on me. Usually what I like to do is just move. Try to change. I know, so a couple of things can happen. I will actually push him to see if I can off-balance him, or actually sometimes even push all the way back. But you can see Enrique start to cut to the side. He's going to use the knee cut, so that he will try to put his right shin or right knee on my right arm, okay? So I know that's going to happen, so I'm already looking to come out the back way. He's going to try to, again, put sort of the doors on. So now I just start to enter into a series of for me, escapes, for Enrique, counters. So first one is he tries to sort of isolate. Now he's going for my arm. That's why I keep my left arm flared out. If you do this, you're going to get choked. So I keep it flared out. Now, depends what he does. I feel him, if he starts to back off, I'm going to swim back in, and now I'm going to go for inversion. Depends if his arm, he just took out his arm, and now our regard. And I keep going after him till I get a submission. So let's look at it again from a grappling perspective. Believe it or not, I think purely from an MMA perspective, the grappling aspect of that escape is easier than a purely grappling perspective. However, What makes it very difficult is how many punches will you eat before you have a chance to do it. So first thing is off balancing. When you off balance somebody, their first course of action is to rebase. That buys you a split second of time to do something else. So again, let's make sure that if you caught in that, if you fight MMA and you're in a jiu-jitsu class and you're training this, move. I do the same thing when I feel the guy, you know, in the gi, when I feel his lapels coming out, whether he's on top or on the bottom, or if he starts to kind of play around with my lapels or his lapels, when you start to pull it out, you know a choke is coming. People are very creative with the lapel chokes from the top, from the bottom, whether they're using your gi or their gi. The minute the split second I feel that extreme danger, I move, make a change the circumstances, okay? And then in that movement, as you change the circumstances, you now have a chance to escape the position, and now you're gonna go after it. Now, purely from grappling perspective, let's look at it from a little different side. So this time, Enrique, instead of, you know, if his hands are up to punch, I'm gonna go forward, and then I'm start to invert. Okay. Now, purely grappling perspective, he's basing on me. So what I'll do is I'll remove my right leg. Why don't you pivot a little bit? So I'll remove my right leg as almost like a form of support. It's weird, like the guy on top, even though I keep it there for a split second, he just kind of pushes into it because he knows the forward movement is coming. So as he pushes into it, I'll push back. If I off balance him enough, sometimes less experienced guy on top, he will go down, and now it's a scramble. But a more experienced guy, I just wobble, and I just make the best of it, whatever I can do. Oh, But now it's a very different scramble. Now I'm actually going after him versus he going after me. Do we have any questions on this?
We have Fuji Tora. He's asking, Fox, I like butterfly guard, but with bigger guys, they smash me. What should I do?
Change guards. Listen, I know it might sound like a flip answer, but that is truly it. Like, here's the reality. I don't have a good lift in my legs. My leg's not weak, but for some reason, I have a bad lower back, so I have a hard time lifting people and, entering into... So if I try to lift Enrique and try to enter into the saddle, I have a hard time, especially if they smash my hips. I basically, at that point, my back gets compromised because, there's a lot of twist in the back. So I will play butterfly guard. I will do this, but it's minimal. The three top guards for me are split guard, where I stretch the guy out. If they don't want to be stretched out, then I'm going to be going underneath and going perpendicular guard. If he's standing on his feet above me, then probably De La Riva and the various entries, either attempted sweeps or a leg lock entries. That's going to be my go-to guard. So I'm not, you want to get your butterfly guard better? Yes, you can. There's guys that play a lot of butterfly guard, so I encourage you to look at their content, whether it's free or paid. If that's sort of like, I want to have a better butterfly guard. But understand that everybody's game is going to be shaped by a lot of various factors. Some of them are, the length of how long you've been training and sort of what you're working on. The important factors that are going to stay with you the whole jiu-jitsu journey is sort of what is your personality, size, body type, and so forth. So that a lot of that is going to shape your game. So if you want to get a better butterfly guard, just get somebody's content that's an expert. This is their guard. This is their go-to guard, and study that and to make improvements. If your body type is anything like mine and you have a hard time lifting, which I do, like I said, I will do it. I would especially play butterfly guard from here. So when the guy is in my guard, it puts up one of the legs. Oh. I will do that, but that's more opportunistic rather than strategic. Does that make sense? So if you want to play a better butterfly guard from a strategic sense, that this is going to be your go-to guard, study the guys who have, Marcelo Garcia, for example, is amazing butterfly guard. Study that. If you kind of like me, yes, you need to know butterfly guard. Obviously, there's certain factors. You know, you got to make sure when you play, don't just kind of pull them on top of you and lift. You're gonna get smashed. You got to go to your side to make sure that they kind of off balance and you lift. So there's going to be certain technical factors that when I teach it, I will teach my students, because I don't want to impose my game on all of my students. I want to give them sort of the choices, and ultimately the choices they're going to pursue are up to them, based on their goals, based on their body type and personality and so forth. But that's what I'd recommend for you.
And on the topic of big guys, Adolfo Ferranda's asking, what do you do when the big guy is in your closed guard? He has wide knees for base. His arms are inside your chest or armpits, and his head is firm on your chest or under your chin, and he's stalling from there.
Can you duplicate that? Just so I don't know if you guys have been watching me for a while. I don't know if you can see my eyes suddenly went elsewhere, and the reason for that is I had a question on Facebook a few days ago that was related to the topic I just talked about, and I could not remember what the question was. So let's go to this.
Do you remember now?
No. And what's driving me crazy, we took up the tape that we had, because things are kind of pretty much coming back to normal in New Jersey. I hope this is gonna happen for everybody else around the world. By the way, guys, I'm doing a benefit seminar on Zoom, June 13th, 10 a.m. It's a Sunday. It's 10 a.m. Eastern time, so it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon European time. Guys, reach out to Anand Sharma on Instagram or Facebook, because all the proceeds are going to go to support the Indian BJJ community, specifically his school. He does a lot of good work with children. And as you well know, that India has been severely impacted by COVID. Almost every country has, but India had it especially rough. So that's going to be Sunday, June 13th on Zoom. And for your donation, you get access to the seminar. It's going to be 2 hours. I'd be interested, guys. Send me messages, post on here what the topics you want me to cover. And let's go back to the question. Share, like, subscribe. Tag. Wait. So, all right.
I'm falling here.
No, I thought you blocking my hips.
Up.
See, at least I got up.
No.
Down?
You were right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Knees wide, arms in the chest or armpit, head underneath the chin or firm on the chest.
Go ahead.
You see?
What
Here we are.
What feels best for you?
I can only do one, Fox.
All right. So if you have a problem in jiu-jitsu, okay, you're basically trapped. This is you can't move, or can you? So you have to isolate, figure out sort of solutions to some of the smaller problems first, and then as you solve the smaller problems, you have an opening to resolve the big problem. So I can't move right to left, okay? I can't move forward and backwards. I can't move down because unless my ass was really sharp, I can't punch through the floor. So the only possible way I can move is up. All right? So watch what I do. So you can do this. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to punch the guy's face up hard. Okay? So I'm going to try to do it nice for Enrique. So as I'm going to punch my hips, and as I'm punching my hips, I'm going to open my legs. That gives me a little bit extra room. Before he has a chance to settle, I frame, and as I'm framing, I'm shrimping out. As soon as that happens, I need to put one foot on the floor. So at this point, not on the floor, on his hip. So once I have one foot, then I can sort of start to play a variety of things. Start to move out. So basically what you need to do is create mobility for yourself through effectively what is the one open area. You got to be careful, because when, sometimes the guys, when they stall, they don't want to stall for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They want to stall long enough for you to, make a mistake. Okay, so you got to make sure you do this right. I'm sticking to the floor. The floor is sticky. So pay attention to how I open. All right. If I'm just here and sort of trap, again, I can't move left. I can't move right. I can't push out. I can't go closer. So there's only one way, and that's to go up. Okay. So my hips are already lifted off the ground. I'm gonna put the back of my legs on his upper thigh, and as soon as I pop him up, you're gonna have to do this fast. It becomes a little bit, so pop, and now frame. As soon as I frame, I'm gonna put my foot on the hip. Once I do, now the question is, what do you want to do? I don't want to recover guard because you already had a problem with this. So there's a couple of things you could do is prop yourself up and scoot away, and then try to go into them. A big guy will almost always push you back, but now they start to isolate things. Okay? So anytime you pop up on a big guy, they will try to put you down. Okay? So make sure that's okay. Be put back down is okay. Make sure that you try to get a little bit of an isolation either on their arm or their head. For me, if I get this, so I pop up, frame, foot on the hips, and now I start whatever attack they kind of give me. But initially, now we have some. That's not going to necessarily happen, but you need to create movement. Again, at a very base fundamental level, if you got a big guy and a small guy with equal skill set, and basically same general attributes except for the size, the small guy has to create movement, speed up. Big guy is trying to slow things down, close it up.
And we also have a question from, let's see if I can find it.
I'm thinking in the meantime, I'm thinking about what that question was. It was from Mike Durkes from in North Carolina.
Oh, come
And
to
I yeah. Yeah, probably in the middle of the night. Oh, now I remember.
We have a question from Jake Taylor. He's saying, "Good morning, Fox.
What's up, Jake?
Do you have a sweep from reverse de la Riva that you'd like to do?"
I use reverse de la Riva more as a entry into the legs, but or try to come out the back. That's going to be my preferred course of action. So rather than a sweep, I will attack the legs or the back. Okay, so again, it's not so much a sweep as much as an attack. Understand, guys, and this is kind of an interesting sort of philosophical question when you train BJJ, is when I attack from my guard, and so Enrique's on top, I generally attack to hunt for submission. In that process, if you do it well, a sweep may open. So instead of getting a submission, I get a sweep. If I don't do it well, he'll pass my guard. And then I'll have to basically put him back in guard and do it all over again. So let's look at this again from a reverse de la Riva. So again, if I'm going in, I'm going to try to either attack the legs or attack the back. A lot of times, I don't think I'm going to get. Enrique's been training with me too long, but this is, I got to sweep. Two.
Have a found advantage.
No, this is all. So, again, this is a more a general question how you play your guard, but when you attack, you need to have a pretty big toolbox for this, so it's not necessarily that easy to do at the lower levels of when you don't have much experience training with JJ, but you do try to keep that in the back of your mind, even if you started fairly recently. That anytime you attack, and your opponent, if you had a decent attack, and your opponent squashes it, it opens up other things. It opens up other opportunities, and usually, when I attack from my guard and my training partner squashes that attack, a lot of times they're open for a sweep. So that's sort of, I hit the sweep. As if they defend the sweep, they usually put themselves back in a position for me to attack a submission. Again, if you've been watching for a while, you have any of the books and DVDs or whatever, I give a big value to momentum. When you're attacking somebody, it's very difficult for them to go back after you. It's not impossible, they can turn the momentum, but it's difficult. So again, roughly equal skills, roughly equal size and everything else, strength, wind, endurance, and all this other stuff. If you have momentum, that's probably what's going to determine the outcome of the match.
And one last question before we close out. James Trotta's asking, I keep getting smashed on bottom of half guard. Can you give me a few tips to avoid this?
Yeah. Like I said, guys, I don't play a lot of half guard. Usually when I play half guard, I try to get back into full guard, usually split guard. That's my sort of preferred course of action. But let's look at what you're probably doing wrong. So a couple of things when you're in the bottom of half guard. First thing is, do not let him control your head. This is going to be a major problem. You could still do this, but now it's going to be that much. There's going to be work involved, okay? So if that happens, I don't think we have enough time to play around with this. But again, you're going to have first, your biggest problem is you're flat, but your arms are out of position. So again, the big problem is you're basically smashed. And now what are the little problems? The little problems is my arms are not in position. You can always try to threaten. Yeah, you're not going to let me do that. So you, again, off balance the guy, sometimes just a little bit, and now start to frame out. But the biggest thing that you cannot do is make sure that once he controls the head, that's a problem. So if you prevent him from controlling your head, my left hand is going to be framing out. And I personally like to frame out across to the shoulder or trap rather than under the armpit, because I feel, if you got a good guy, a strong guy, they can sort of start to isolate, the arm and the head. So I'm not a fan. So I rather prefer to be on the shoulder or trap. All right. But my first course of action is not to let him control my head. If he controls my head, that's going to be a problem. Now, usually, if I can accomplish this, so as Enrique's trying to come forward, I try to frame out, and I'm trying to get one. If I can get the inside leg on top of their hip, that'd be great. But in this case, Enrique's doing too good a job. So I'll bring my leg in, create space, and now once I have space, I'm gonna go after him. Now I start to attack from the split guard. Maybe that should be mine. And it's actually been suggested to do a split guard DVD on BJJ Fanatics. Maybe that's going to be my next topic.
It's a good option. And one last thing, Jim Baseball was asking for that knee on belly story before we close out.
Oh! I did tell you, I probably won't remember. Man, it's like we're sticking to. So, guys, this is kind of an interesting thing. Sometimes, and this goes to any combat situation, any combat sport, when you do something unexpected, it can have good results. And the reason for that is, I was just kidding, when you're on the bottom and, say in an MMA self-defense scenario, the guy's got a knee on belly and wants to unload on you, that you basically should try to bump him forward so his hands go on the ground instead of punching you in the face. This is a story probably from more than 20 years ago, that one of the people, and we will not reveal a whole lot of information about this, was in an MMA match, and they took the person down, and the person on the bottom started to punch the living daylights out of the person on top in their guard, which should not happen. However, the person on top was so surprised, they actually lost the fight. This was an MMA fight. And if the reality is, they were not at that time, they're probably blue belt level. But, the reality is, yes, it can happen. So, you can create space, but you can, sometimes when an unexpected thing happens, the person gets attacked, kind of has a momentarily, could be somewhat permanent, or could be a temporary brain fart, and that's your chance to to change circumstances, take momentum away. So again, in this case, it was not a knee on belly, but it was sort of from the bottom of the guard, just started punching up. And yes, it can work. And you know, against a more skilled opponent, I think at some point it's like, oh crap, and then you sort of recover, posture up to make sure they cannot reach you that well. Now you can start to punch down. But again, the moral of the story, which is probably good for us as martial artists, is sometimes an unexpected thing can have good results. And with that, oh guys, yeah, before I forget, guys, so I'm starting to get a lot of inquiries for seminars. If you're interested, send me a message. I have two dates already set. I'm going to be teaching at the Globetrotters camp in Iceland next month. Then I'm going to be at 2 Czech camps in end of August. And now I'm planning. I'm actually working on two other seminars / camps in Germany, Holland, and Austria, and also working on something in Israel. So guys, if you're interested in the Czech camp, that's August 27th to 29th. All right, if you want the details, you can contact me. I'll put you in touch with the organizers. Share, like, subscribe, tag, whatever else.
Tell your friends and training partners.
Yes, tell your friends.
Go to Czech, to the camp.
We'll see you next time, guys.